welcome back to my channel. This is just a stream of consciousness video where I'm just going to be talking off the cuff. Haven't taken any notes or anything. Thank you all for your previous comments. This video is, oh by the way, with regards to the podcast that I'm doing, yes, as soon as it's online, I will be pinning it on my Twitter page, and I'll let you all know, so don't worry about that. It will take them a couple of weeks to edit it. If you want to check out the podcast, by the way, it's NeuroSense, and it's Naomi Fisher. So if you just go on Google and NeuroSense, it will come up on there when it's available. But as I say, it's not available yet because it will take a couple of weeks for them to edit it. In this video, really, a few things. But one of you mentioned and drew my attention to the fact that Tony Attwood of Asperger's syndrome fame, he's a well-known psychologist. He's originally from the UK, but he now lives in Australia, I think. So he's British, but he lives in Australia, and he has done so for a very long time. He wrote the book The Complete Guide to Asperger's Syndrome, which was one of the first books I think I read about autism around the time I got diagnosed. It's quite an informative book. Obviously, we don't really talk about Asperger's anymore, but that was what it used to be called, the type of autism I have, I guess. Yeah, anyway, one of you said that Tony Attwood has come out recently as effectively self-diagnosing himself, or self-identifying is the wording he used. He doesn't, yeah, it's weird, he talks about self-identifying. Self-identified himself as autistic, that he has an autistic profile. And there's been quite a lot of kind of song and dance about this over on Facebook, with lots of people in the neurodiversity movement kind of going, hooray, he's one of us, and so on. Yeah, well, in my own opinion, and granted this is going to be highly controversial, and I'm sure some of you will fervently disagree with me. That's absolutely fine. We're entitled to our opinions, okay? This is just my opinion. I'm allowed to voice it, free speech and all. I personally do not think he's autistic. Why? Because, quite frankly, to be autistic, you need to be significantly impaired. That's part of the criteria. It states very clearly, autism criteria, there must be evidence of clinically significant impairment, affecting multiple, in multiple contexts. So that would be, work life, home life, relationships, and so on. And this has to be evident in the early developmental period. There must be a pattern. So it's not enough just to have traits of autism. Many people have traits of autism. It's common, it's widely distributed throughout the population. There's nothing odd, essentially, or, divergent, to use that god-awful term, about autistic traits. They're widely spread throughout the general population. Most people might, lots of people will understand on a very kind of basic, superficial level, certain autistic traits. They might be like, oh, well, I quite like routine, I'm a creature of habit, oh, I find it a little bit hard to make eye contact, I'm not great at looking at people in the eyes, I'm a little bit socially awkward, I find, being around lots of people rather draining, I'm not the best at socialising. Lots of people will be like that, okay? Particularly among those who identify as introverted. But that's not autism. That's not autism. If you take any trait of autism, you could take literally any trait, you will find that trait in the general population to a far lesser extent. Critically, these traits won't be disabling, they won't impair the person, they won't stop the person going about their general day-to-day activities. They'll be more like a sort of personality variance. It's rare for someone in the general population not to experience any of the traits of autism. But that's as far as it goes. That's not autism. And I mean, you you could do the same for any condition, for any psychiatric condition. You know, take clinical depression. The majority of people at some point in their lives might feel a bit down, a little bit sad, a bit tearful, a bit down in the dumps. That's not depression. Responding negatively to life events is not depression. Clinical depression is something completely else. I've never had it. I've been fortunate never to be clinically depressed. It's probably, you know, I'm lucky at least in that level so far, touch wood. But clinical depression is something else. It's, for someone with clinical depression, I mean, I've never experienced it, so I can't say firsthand what it's like, but it's a whole body experience. It literally affects their whole body. Extreme kind of fatigue, being weighed down, people often describe it as. You know, extreme sluggishness. It's not just feeling a little bit sad. Indeed, some people who are depressed don't even explicitly feel sad. It's a whole body experience. But to a far milder extent, people in the general population might identify, you know, with feeling a little bit sad now and again, or a little bit down. And they might kind of use the word depression, oh, I feel a bit depressed. But that's not actually depression in a kind of clinical sense. And I mean, the same for all psychiatric conditions. Anxiety, for example, normal everyday anxiety, which every single person experiences as part of being human, which is perfectly normal. Not a single person on this planet will not experience anxiety at some point, because anxiety is adaptive, it's normal, it's essential. From an evolutionary perspective, if you don't feel anxious when you're crossing a road and a car suddenly comes at you, that's not going to be very good. You need that anxiety, you need to step back. Someone might feel a bit anxious about a job change at work. But that's not the same thing as an anxiety disorder. It's a completely different kettle of fish. It's like comparing apples and oranges. It's not the same thing. To conflate the two is a category mistake. But people do it, and it's highly offensive. And people do the same with autism. People do the same with all conditions, probably, all psychiatric conditions. The other thing I want to say is that having a trait of something is not the same, it doesn't mean that it comes from the same cause or the same kind of fundamental, can't think of the right words here, you know, yeah, it doesn't mean it has the same cause. It doesn't mean it's the same entity. Someone could have a headache for all sorts of different reasons. Headache, same experience, different cause, okay? Likewise, someone who struggles to make eye contact, that might just be because they're a little bit shy or a bit introverted, or maybe they just genuinely struggle to make eye contact for all sorts of reasons. That doesn't make the beast, that doesn't make autism just because someone's got that little quirk. Autism is a pattern when a person has symptoms, if you like, from what used to be 3 domains. They've now collapsed them into 2 domains. But what used to be called the triad of impairments, which is essentially social communication difficulties, social interaction difficulties, rigid, repetitive behaviours, activities or interests. And a person assessing someone with autism will be looking for difficulties in all 3 of those areas. But like I said, it's not enough just to have some vague traits. Those traits, there must be enough symptoms. So quantity, there must be enough. It's not enough just to have a few of them. Many people do. There's got to be enough of them. But crucially, they have to be qualitatively different from the average sort of norm, if you like. There's a difference in quality. So it's not enough just to have a difficulty in a particular area. There must be a difference in the quality that is fundamentally different to what you see in a typical person who might have that trait. And also, it must be causing clinically significant impairment. It must be disabling. It must be causing a person significant problems in their functioning. Okay, so moving over to video number 2 now.